All right, I'm pretty sure you could just take notes on this piece of paper. You just might have to write small, all right? If you have your notebook though, you could also just do it on both, either way. All right. We are combining two lessons today, so we're going to graph lines by plotting points, and then we're going to do slope-intercept form as well. All right, I think I'm just going to do one where we plot points because it's pretty easy, okay? So go ahead and write down y equals negative x plus 1. And if you want to do it just right next to that graph 1, that's fine. Or if you want to do it on a separate piece of paper, that's fine too. All right. So I have y equals negative x plus 1. So what you want to do is pick points for x, okay? And I always pick the points closest to 0. So I'm going to pick negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, and 2, just like we did the other day, okay? So you pick the x's. Don't pick big numbers because you got to be able to graph them, all right? And then we plug them in. So I've got negative x plus 1. They left space here to show your work, but really you could just do this probably in your head, okay? Plug in negative 2. So I have a negative negative makes a positive 2 plus 1. I guess I'll show it. So it looks like this, right? And that actually equals 3. So that means I get the coordinate point negative 2, 3. I plug in negative 2 and I get 3. Okay? Now let's plug in negative 1 for x. So I have a double negative here. So I have a negative, negative 1 plus 1. What does that equal, everyone? Great. I heard one of you barely whisper it. Okay? Negative 1, 2. Okay? Now let's plug in 0. What's negative 0? It's 0. Plus 1 is 1. So I get 0, comma 1. When I plug in 0, I get 1. Anyone notice a pattern here? 3, 2, 1. What's my next answer going to be? What? Decrease by 1, right? What would my next answer be? Okay, you could check that though. Let's double check. When you plug in 1, what's negative 1 plus 1? 0. When you plug in 2, what's negative 2 plus 1? All right, good. So when you plug in 1, you get 0. When you plug in 2, you get negative 1. All right, so then we're just going to plot these 5 points and graph a line. All right, so everybody go to your number 1 graph and go left 2, up 3, and put a point. Okay, that's this one. Now go left 1, up 2, and put a point. This 0, 1 means you just go up 1. And then 1, 0 is right 1. And then 2, negative 1, right 2, down 1. All right, and then it does help to have like your ID card or something to draw a straight line. All right, so draw yourself a line and put arrows. When you graph lines, I do want your line to go across that whole grid and then put arrows because it goes forever and ever and ever, okay? So that's how you make a t-table to graph a line. So I'm not going to do another one, okay? All right, horizontal and vertical lines. These are special graphs, okay? So if you don't have y equals like x plus 1, right? Normally it looks like that. Y equals 2x plus 3 or something like that, okay? If you only have an x or you only have a y, they are special lines, okay? This first one, x equals 3, means that it cuts through the x-axis at 3. So if this is the x-axis, you cut through the x-axis at 3. Pretend like that's straight. Okay? So draw a line going through 3. What this means is x is 3 no matter what, and y can be anything. X is 3, x, every single point on this line, x is 3, and y is any number. Okay, so I would remind yourself, and you should probably write x equals 3 like above your graph or next to your graph. Okay, and make a little note next to this x and write yourself a note that says cuts through x axes. Okay, it goes through the x axis. So this is also known as a vertical line. Okay, X graphs always go this way, all right? So now I have a y equals -4. So write down y equals -4 above your graph, okay? So this should be like your third graph. Y equals -4. What is this going to cut through which axes? Cuts through the y-axis, all right? Cuts through y-axis. So it's going this way, and it cuts through at -4. So every point on that line, y is -4. X is any number, like -4, -4. Y is -4, y is -4. X is anything, y is, okay, so it always cuts through the y-axis. Again, you might want to remind yourself, y graphs are always horizontal lines. They cut through the y-axis. All right, so those are special ones. Okay, now for y equals mx plus b. This is technically lesson 75. So first you want to isolate y, which all of these probably will have y by itself, okay? If not, you'll get the y by itself, okay? Y equals mx plus b. You want it in this form. So the number in front of x is always the slope, and the number over here that does not have a variable is the y-intercept. Every time, okay? So the number in front of x is the slope, and the other number is the y-intercept. So we are going to graph y equals 1/3 x plus 3, and we are not making a table. Plus, if you made a table, you would have to plug in like numbers that are multiples of 3 because you have that 1/3, which is annoying. So this is actually easier, okay? So write down y equals 1/3 x plus 2, like above your fourth graph, if we're on number 4. Are we on 4? Are we on 5? We're on 4, you just were on 5. Okay, so it doesn't matter, okay? Just pick a graph, okay? Write down y equals 1/3 x plus 2. You always start with the y-intercept. That's where it crosses the y-axis. So here's your y-axis, and we're going to put a point on 2, on positive 2, on the y-axis. Every time you're going to do the y-axis first, okay? Now, this number here in front of x is the slope, all right? And you should probably write this somewhere next to your graph, okay? This top number is always the change in y. In other words, this top number always tells us up or down. It's our change in y. Okay, and the bottom number always tells us left or right. It's our change in x. It's always change in y over change in x. So because they're both positive, we are going to go up because up is positive, and right because right is positive. So you're going to put your point on 2. Everybody put your pencil on 2. Start here. Okay. Now we all go up 1. Don't put a point yet. Just go up 1. And we go right 3. Put a point. Now everyone should be on this point. Okay. Now I'm going to go up 1, right 3, put a point. Oh, you guys ran out of room? Okay, good point. Okay, so here's another cool thing that can happen. I know I have a bigger graph than you. Does everyone agree that a negative over a negative is the same as a positive? Okay, so I could write it like this. This would mean I now go what direction if I have a -1 in the top? Down. And what direction here? Okay, so everybody put your pencil back on 2. Back on 2 on the y-axis. Now we're going to go down 1. Left 3. Put a point. Down 1, left 3. You guys probably ran out of room. Okay? All right. Now you're going to graph a nice straight line. Okay? Through those points and put some arrows on there. Nolan? Well, let's see. All right. So again, the m is always equal to the change in y over the change in x, okay? Just like I said, meaning the top number always goes up or down, bottom number goes left or right, okay? Just really quick, don't write this down, but really quick, this slope right here, is it positive or negative? Do you guys know? Yes, this is a positive slope. You always read from left to right, and so put your little like skier man, he's going uphill, that's a positive slope, okay? And then if you're going this way, skier man, he's going downhill, that is a negative slope. So in the last problem, I had a positive slope because 1/3 is positive. So this line should be going up. Know what I'm saying? Okay, like the tilt is up. All right, let's try another one. Okay, write down this equation next to graph, what are you guys on, 5? We'll graph 5. Okay, so write y equals negative 1/2 x plus 3. Okay, we are always going to start with this number here, which is our y-intercept. So we always put it on the y-axis. So you are going to put a point at positive 3 on the y-axis. Okay, that is where it crosses the y-axis. Okay, all right, now I have a slope of negative 1/2. This negative can go either on the top or the bottom. Okay, you can have a negative either on the top or the bottom, and that means negative. I'm going to put it on the top to start. Okay, if it's on the top, this one always goes up or down. Okay, the top number is your change in y, so that's up or down. Which way is it going to go because it's negative? Good, it's going to go down. Now your bottom number always goes right or left. Okay, right or left because it's your change in x. Okay, if it's positive 2, which way are we going to go? Right. Right is positive. Okay, so now everybody put your pencil all together on 3. So your pencil should be at positive 3 on the y. All right, and now all together we are going to go down 1, right 2, and put a point. Okay, and from that point, down 1, right 2, put a point. Are you guys out of space? Okay, almost, close enough. All right, so the negative could also be on the negative 2, right? You just have one negative. So if it looks like this top number of 1, which way are we going to go? Up because it's positive. And which way would this one go? Left because it's negative, okay? So now go back to this positive 3. Go up 1, left 2, put a point. Up 1, left 2, put a point. All right, and then draw yourself a nice line all the way through your whole entire grid with arrows. Okay. I think this is the last one. All right. Here's the last one. Okay, so put this equation next to number 6. Y equals negative 4/5 x minus 4. All right, everyone, what point should I plot first? Negative 4. And where does this negative 4 go? On the y-axis. So you should be putting a point down here. Negative 4. Okay, now this number is the slope, negative 4/5, right? So if I have a negative 4 on the top, which way is this telling me to go? Down. And if I have a positive 5 on the bottom, which way is this telling me to go? All right, great job. So we're going to put our pen on negative 4, and you guys are all probably going to run out of room on your miniature graphs. So just pretend and count dots, okay? Just like pretend like it keeps going. So everyone go down 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I know you're off the grid. Just guess, okay? And then right 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put a point. Again, you're somewhere in space down there, okay? Now let's switch our negative sign to the bottom because this is still a negative 4/5 slope, all right? If the top number is positive 4, which way do we go? Up. And if the bottom number is negative 5, which way do we go? Okay, so start back at negative 4. This one will fit better on our graph, okay? And we're going to go up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Left 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you might be able to fit another one. I don't know. Up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Left 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And draw yourself a line. Notice it's a negative slope. It's going downhill, so I know I did it right. Okay? Real quick, if I have y equals 3x plus 2, what's the y-intercept? 2. And the slope is 3, right? However, if you are going to graph it, you need to make it a fraction. So just put it over 1 if it's a whole number, which means up 3, right 1. Everybody good? Same thing if like, what if you had this? Okay, y-intercept's -1. What's the slope of this line? 1 over 1. So you want to go up 1 over 1. All right, you just put a 1 and then make it a fraction over 1. Okay, up 1, right 1. All right, let's see how this goes on our graphs.